Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, and I'm delighted to see you all here today. Welcome to today's session on communication strategies for deaf and hard of hearing people. My name is Sara Basson, and again, thank you for the introduction. I work at Google in New York City, and I lead accessibility and disability inclusion for emerging markets with a particular focus and a particular passion for Africa. I'm not deaf or hard of hearing myself, but I have worked with the deaf community for many years, and I'll be delighted to introduce our panelists who can speak about issues and opportunities for deaf people from their own lived experiences. And also coming from different countries across Africa. So this will be a real treat. Our panel today is deeply familiar with the deaf experience, at least as we describe it in the US, the big D deaf experience. I'd like to note, of course, that hearing is a spectrum. There are many people who are hard of hearing and who speak and use their own voices and either lip read or depend on captions that turn speech into text. I guess we're all very familiar with captions here. We're not going to be delving deeply into those topics today. That will be a subject for the next Inclusive Africa Conference. And with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have Nickson Kakiri. Raise your hands as I say your name. Nickson Kakiri from the Kenya National Association of the Deaf. We have Ambrose Murangira. I'm so jealous of how Jessica was saying all of these nice things in Swahili, and it sounded like she had such a great accent. So Ambrose Murangira from Light for the World, and Johannes Teklay from the Ethiopian National Association of the Deaf. And now I invite each of you to introduce yourselves with a little more color about what you do. And we could start with Nickson.
Thank you so much, Sara, for the opportunity to engage. Just to introduce myself, my name is Nickson Kakiri. There goes my sign name and shape F on the cheek region. I'm the president of the National Association of the Deaf. And in my background so far, I could say I studied international development in Washington, D.C. at Gallaudet University for the Deaf. I came to Nairobi to do my master's degree in development studies. Before I returned to the country, I was in the university, and I worked with the World Bank as a consultant. We focused on communication development and how to include persons with disabilities. Thereafter, I came back to Kenya, and we conducted a survey with the Ministry of Planning, focusing on how persons with disabilities can be included, and also we did that across 7 places, and also moved to Mongolia, where I did some work there about mainstreaming and advising VSO to come up with the models for inclusion, and also came back to Kenya to join officially the Kenya National Association of the Deaf. So we have been focusing on advocacy, especially in the Constitution that enshrined sign language as an official language for the deaf people. So in the year 2010, our Constitution was promulgated, and sign language was entrenched as a third official language in the Republic of Kenya. So 59 million people in Kenya, out of that 59 million people, 2.7 million are deaf in Kenya. That is the estimate. So it has been a lot of work that we are doing, and we are still on in the area of youth, and also seeing to it that there is growth. And also currently, right now in the world, there is a lot of focus on assistive technology, thinking about how we need, to have that mainstreaming or putting sign language also in the assistive technology, and also that is based on my introduction for now. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Ambrose, also, a little bit more about yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Now, I just want you to have some few basic sign language. When you are fine, you sign, I'm fine. This is a sign for fine. Can you copy? Good morning. Oh, I'm not seeing the signing. Anyway. Yes, personally, I am Ambrose Murangira. I'm putting on a blue suit with a reddish tie, and I'm putting some spectacles. And my face is always smiling. I'm good at smiling. Very excited to be here. And I've been working with Light for the World as a thematic director, disability inclusion. But before that, before joining Light for the World, I used to work with Uganda National Association of the Deaf as executive director. Not until I joined Light for the World. And my role in Light for the World is focusing on disability inclusion generally, providing technical advisory services where we support different partners to ensure that their programs are disability inclusive. And most of the time, we develop tools, resources, and also support different team of younger people with disabilities to become disability inclusion advisors, to be able to support programs disability inclusive across the world. Of course, I have a lot of things to say, but I'm so much interested on how to make inclusion work. What does it mean? It means we need to prepare younger people with disabilities to be experts in this area of disability inclusion, because younger people with disabilities, they have lived experience, they live with a disability. But how to transit or to change from lived experience to challenge the society? So we as Light for the World, we established what we call Disability Inclusion Facilitators Model, DIF model, where we identify younger people with disabilities, we train and coach them through a Disability Inclusion Academy, so that they can be able to become advisors on disability inclusion. Wherever they go, they're able to support mainstream organizations and programs to be disability inclusive. That's much of my role I do in Light for the World. In a special way, I want to thank one of your partners, MasterCard Foundation. MasterCard Foundation has provided a platform, and in fact, they can show a case. Because in 7 countries, MasterCard Foundation, they have a very huge program called Young Africa Works Program, which is targeting many younger people with disabilities into workspace. And we work with them to provide opportunities to ensure that, yes, disability inclusion is included in development programs across the countries. They are targeting 30 million in Africa generally, but 5% is reserved to benefit young persons with disabilities in such a program. So that's where I invest much of my time to push in the 7 countries to be able to achieve the vision of MasterCard Foundation of attaining 5% for young people with disabilities. That's what I can talk about. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Johannes, if you could spend a couple of minutes providing some background, more color about yourself.
Thank you very much. First, I want to say my name. My name is Johannes Teklay from Ethiopia National Association of the Deaf, and I'm the president of the association. So I'm light-skinned. Also, I have a T-shirt, an African T-shirt, and yes, a black jeans and a black shoe. And this is also a part of my culture in Ethiopia. So I want to talk about the Ethiopian National Association of the Deaf. It started 53 years ago. And the aim of the association was to help deaf persons find job opportunities, also get medical access. And we have been working together with the different institutes such as university. And this university started also providing these services like 10 years ago. So it is the first institute to provide these services. And from this university, we can get interpreters. And via the studies, people get to graduate to understand more about the deafs. And so the past 53 years, we have been having challenges and also problems. Also, some families are causing the problems, and also the government. So we have many problems, such as getting job opportunities. It is really, really tough, but we continue advocating for this. And I want to say what I work in. Also, there's Ethiopian Center or Center of Disability Development, and it assists different disabilities in different areas. So it's an empowerment to myself. And also, we are focusing on empowering universities so that they can be able to be disability accessible. So we have different experiences that we are sharing in Ethiopia and also in our organization. Thank you very much.
So actually, now I have a question of just personal curiosity. You come from 3 different countries in Africa with different spoken languages, and yet I see you watching each other as you're signing. And so are you, are you all fluent in multiple sign languages of Africa, or are they similar? So if just one of you could share some insight for the rest of us.
That's a very good question. But it's very important to understand that each country, they have their own national sign languages. Why? Because the cultural contexts are different. Signs are built from how people live. What is the cultural practices? How are things done on a daily basis? So the cultures are different, and the way they act are different, and hence the signs are created according to how things are done in those contexts. However, we as deaf people, we have a special talent. We have a special talent. When I meet a colleague with hearing impairment, I don't get lost. I try as much as possible to use gestural language by pointing, and body language, and able to communicate. Like if I met you, Sara. Now, just for you who are speaking, your case is different. You go to Ethiopia, people are speaking Amharic, I'm very sure you cannot be able to understand. If somebody is speaking Amharic in Ethiopia, and yet you are English speaking, you are not able to communicate, you get stuck. But for us as deaf, we can be able to interact. I met my colleague from Ethiopia. There's a way we can really link up. So sign language is far better than the spoken language. Thank you.
Just to add on what Ambrose has said, you see, for the deaf people, they normally also use facial expressions during their communication and their emotions as well. So whenever we meet, there is also eye contact, facial expressions. So you can also tell from the psychological perspective when you see somebody's expressions. And it is more of, mostly research shows that sign language itself plays a vital role in the psychological development or cognitive development of the mind. So once you see somebody's facial expression, you get to see and understand what the person is communicating about. You can also understand their mood, and it is easy for you to actually match that communication up. And also, universally, we cannot say sign language is the same. We have internally, in different nations, we have different sign languages. We also have the international one. But we see, if you look at the tools, there's a way we match our communication faster, because as he signs, it will be easy for me to understand. I also remember in Australia, I met a deaf Italian, some deaf Italians there. So I went to the supermarket to buy something. So they cannot write English. So if you look at the writings, it is not English, or it's also difficult to read what was written in the supermarket. So I had to ask for assistance to be helped in interpreting. But remember, there was no exposure to international signs, but it could help us to understand each other. They could get to know what I want to purchase. So signing, it is more like an inherent language for the deaf. Thank you.
Yes, something to add. Many people really think that sign language in the world is same, but the answer is no. In Africa, we have more than 23 different sign languages. So people are speaking different languages. This is not same, it's different. But the deaf follow themselves in terms of communication. There's a way we follow communication. So there's a way how deaf people communicate. It's not the same like for the hearing. But we have the family, the government, different institutions like the hearing side. Like there's a way of communication. What I can really advise is learn how to learn sign language, know how to communicate with the deaf people, and this is easier to make a very easy place. Also in the world, how do the deaf people get information? Through signs. Yes.
Okay, so sign language for world peace. It looks like it's the universal connector. Thank you very much. So not everyone here is deeply familiar with the deaf community and deaf culture. And in our preparation discussions, we talked about some things that hearing people do that are just not deaf-friendly. What's something you would like everyone here to know about being deaf? What would you recommend as some do's and some don'ts when hearing people connect with the deaf community? And Ambrose is already smiling, so he knows his answer.
I thought Nickson could go first. You know, Nickson is very passionate about that.
In our world currently, we understand ourselves better. In our interaction with the hearing people, we usually try to explain ourselves, and also we connect it with our experience as a result of interacting with them. The World Federation for the Deaf has a policy statement that emphasizes on primacy, on the primary use of sign language. So for deaf people, they teach the hearing sign language as well as the deaf culture. But now, the hearing, there is also two different cultures between the hearing and the deaf. So also our movement has shown this difference, and also nationally sign language is usually the solution for that. But for the hearing people, they try they don't sign naturally. It becomes like a third or second language to them as opposed to us. So they normally struggle to acquire it. So most of the times, they learn it later. But psychologically, if you are taught sign language, you can also speak. But if you want to hear your voice, it also sometimes makes learning become slow. So when you're teaching, sometimes teaching without a voice, psychologically, you are required to sign. When you're taught sign language by somebody who is speaking, it's difficult. So it's quite different. So when a hearing person is teaching sign language, and a deaf person is teaching sign language, the design or modality of teaching is different. We do feel that the definition of deaf, what does it mean? There is the deaf with the capital D, that is tied to the deaf culture. That means any person who has accepted sign language is considered as a member of the deaf community. When you visit countries, maybe you want to work, we encourage the first thing that you need to learn the culture of that particular community, and that encompasses the language as well. So that is a strong part of consideration for you to be a member of the community. Similarly, if you consider this approach of inclusion, or rather including persons who are hearing to learn sign language as the deaf, then they can interact with us.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other any do's and don'ts you can share with us?
Yes. Me personally, as Ambrose, I may ask myself, what could be the do's and don'ts? The response here is that you meet me, I just want you to give the eye contact direct to me. Look at me, concentrate, and you engage with me directly. Why am I saying so? Many of us, we use sign language interpreters. Now, some of you here, you come and want to interact with me. Most of your time, you are concentrating on sign language interpreter, and the attention is put away. Remember, the meeting is between you and me, Ambrose. It's the meeting between you and maybe me. So I expect you, when you're talking to me, to concentrate and put fresh expression directly with me. But there are advantages. For me, I could be able to follow because I even could look at your face. I can even get your expressions and get the meaning. Another advantage is the sign of respect. I feel I'm being respected when you're putting attention to me. The second response to this, from Tuesday, when we are here, and some of us who have been really getting so stressed. I've heard, how do we refer to a person with disabilities? Some people are using some jargon, people who are differently abled, people who are differently talented, people with special abilities. To me, I'm not so much interested to hear that. Why don't you call me Ambrose? Maybe a deaf man, I don't have any problem with that. I'm not differently abled, to be honest. All of us, we are very different in diversity. So just because I'm a deaf person, it doesn't mean that I have a special ability of being a deaf person. I have abilities just like any other person. So when you are interacting with me as Ambrose, either a deaf person, or Ambrose as a person who cannot hear, that can sound better. Yes, and one other important thing to note. Okay, when I'm moving ahead of you, and you want to seek my attention, and I have a hearing impairment, when you clap or when you make a noise, I'm not able to hear. So avoid throwing an object on me to seek attention. Why don't you maybe come closer and have a gentle touch? Gently touch signal to me. That's when I can know, yes, you want to seek my attention. But throwing an object, it can even scare me. I may think somebody want to kill me and I can get shocked. Or if you come from behind with a very strong slap, I might be dreaming and thinking a lot while moving. I'm thinking about my brother. Then you come all of a sudden, hit me. It can even paralyze or shock me. gently come and really touch me to seek attention. So, but the big point here is to understand me. We know other people always, you get stressed. If I meet Ambrose, a deaf person, and you realize you don't know sign language, and you feel you cannot communicate with me, you feel very difficult, there is no interpreter around. What can I do? Forget that. Because if you ignore me, it means I miss an opportunity to engage with you. Be confident enough, reach out to me, openly inform me, I don't know how to sign. I don't know sign language. We can devise other mechanisms of communicating. We have different mechanisms of communication. We can either do written on a sheet, or if I have a smartphone or a phone, we can type text, and we can see how we can communicate together. And many deaf people, we have apps on our smartphones, which can translate from speech to text. You can speak, I switch on my phone, as you speak, it's really turning in text. I'm able to follow what you are saying, and I can respond by text. So please, ladies and gentlemen, never stress yourself that you are not able to meet a deaf person and not communicate. It's very easy. I'm very sure you can even enjoy interacting with a person with hearing impairment. We are storytellers if we want to interact with us. You know, our stories, by the way, had never been heard elsewhere. Our stories are as original and are coming from a silent world. So please don't miss out these stories interacting with us. Thank you.
I want to add something. In Ethiopia, we have like more than 5 million deaf persons. That is around 1.5 to 2.5% of the disability percentage in Ethiopia. So we are all aware, and we have issues or problems there. So by the time, there's no deaf person who is attending to any bank. Because why? First of all, the families, they see a deaf child as a sin. This is a blessing from God. This is not only happening in Ethiopia, it's happening in different countries. This is an African perception of the past. So we must know that deaf children is not associated with the sin. Many deaf are in Africa, and they're not going to school at an early age. Secondly, we have a problem in the school, let's say the religions attached to the schools. There are very few people who are really accepting this. And in Africa, we really need to be responsible. And these perceptions should change. Let's include the deaf person's children to school at an early age. Many, we can see they are going to school at the age of 14. That is when they're starting school. That is an oppression, and that's a very big problem. So we must change that.
Yeah.
I'd also like to add, if you look at the statistics for the deaf people in Africa, as per World Health Organization, in the year 2012, they gave an estimate of 36.8 million. Out of that, 6 million of them from 0 to the age of 4 years are deaf. So we also have 17 million who are youth. That one becomes more complex at that age. If you look at the numbers of the ones who go to school, it is below 2% who attend schooling. It is because most of those schools are not accessible. And there is also communication barrier. And also the national policies for the different countries are not inclusive of the deaf, plus other general persons with disabilities. you'll find the number of deaf people who access education is a little bit going down. While it may not be the same case as what my brother says, most of the times it is the issue of the deaf people are not included in decision making, at least to help in the development of the education system. It's an interesting case right now. We are talking about artificial intelligence. So we have research taking place. So we have AI changing speech, and also thinking about changing speech to signs, and also changing texts. Remember, sign language involves expressions and also the hands. So the AI technology. We also remember the palm. The AI does not capture the other side. We focus more on the palm region. But you see that one is not coming out clearly. So when somebody is signing, AI might miss some components on the hand. So when they are translating, it can become a little bit complex. I know it's an issue of technology. And again, if you look at text to speech, remember, we also have accents. Google makes that as well. But remember, here in Kenya, when somebody is speaking in English, sometimes they might mix with Swahili English and Swahili at the same time. So it becomes confusing to change. So we'll end up not having full translation. So AI should be actually taught first how to understand the accents of different speech. If it is an African context, how do we change this English? Because we also have Sheng, which is widely used by the youth, mixture of Kiswahili and English. So it becomes very complex. So there needs to be more research on that, on the AI. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. So our time is too short for all the interesting topics we have. So as a last, I'll ask you just in a couple of words. This is a question that I wanted to ask you. So just very briefly, and you might have already touched on answers and other things that you've said. If you had a magic wand and you can make life in Africa easier for someone who is deaf, you have one wish, what would you change? In just a couple of words, we're pretty much at end of time.
Okay, for me, what I really want to say is I want to really change the system. It's really, really, really important. We must be more inclusive for the deaf and the hard of hearing. Let us be inclusive. The government should put the trust and also involve deaf persons. That is a number one thing. Changes the system. That is what I can do.
Excellent. Yes?
In relation to what my colleague has said, system change should go hand in hand with mindset change. Two things, change system and mindset. But one area of importance is the education system. If you make me the president or the UN president to say, for the first week in my term, I would instruct all world leaders to just explain to me why deaf people are failing in education system. How can we handle this problem once and forever? Because we have been singing deaf education, the biggest challenge, year in, year out. So as a first step, when we talk about system and mindset change, education is very key. Because we have been lamenting, we have whatever it takes. We have people know about health. So we have even graduates. Some graduates are there. We need also to have a good family. We need a good education. So everything we are entitled to. So what can we do? As the president of UN or Secretary General, that's what I could instruct. Thank you.
Thank you. How many people are going to vote for this president as our next president? Excellent. Good. You got your first set of votes. And one more. Anything you would like to change if you had a magic wand? One wish.
My wish is this. When you go to a shop, looking for clothes to buy, and you want to buy that cloth, so you want to take your favorite cloth. But sometimes that cloth is not of your preference. Then you go to take the cloth that is of your preference. So what do I mean? Let the deaf people decide what they want for themselves. Do not decide for the deaf people. We have good intentions, but with bad approaches. We need to think. Sometimes you think without involving us at the inception stage. That's why things might not go on well. So we keep on going in circles and circles over those issues. That is my wish, that we do have the deaf at the decision-making table so that they can decide for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. I want to thank you for being an excellent audience, and I want to thank this spectacular panel of impressive speakers that have given us a lot of insights that perhaps many of us did not have about deaf culture, about deaf issues, about improving the lives of people in Africa. We do have a question. Do we have time to take a question? No one said no, so.
Hello, I am Marianne, one of the innovators, and I have a speech disability. First, I feel that speech disabilities should have been included in this conversation. I don't speak totally, unlike the deaf who sign and speak, or rather move their lips at the same time. In sign language, there are words that are signed the same, for example, motivation and passion. And to tell the difference, the interpreter normally reads the lips. What happens to people like me with dysfunctional mouths? What are some of the strategies we can explore? How can we be reasonably accommodated? And how do we advocate for us to be reasonably accommodated? Thank you.
I will take that as an excellent suggestion for next year's Inclusive Africa. So yes, it's an excellent point, a legitimate topic for us to discuss and to have a whole section on, so thank you for that. Well, I'm happy to take questions, but I know I'm violating protocol with many signs here that say time up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ghaida Abdallah. I'm a project associate at Signvas, a young innovator as well. So through this conversation, I've been able to learn a lot. It's not a question, but at Signvas, we're trying to bridge the gap in communication barrier by building an AI tool that converts text and speech to sign language. So I think one of the speakers really pinpointed out on the aspect of AI and machine learning. So that is something we will take into consideration to make it more human interactive and build it more so that I believe in next year's conference, instead of us having most interpreters, we'll have Signvas being displayed there and help us in communication. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That is a question we get a lot about sign to text, text to sign. And if you work closely with the deaf community, obviously, it will be an excellent product. I don't know if it'll be ready next year, but let's have high aspirations. Thank you very much. Thank you so much to our panel. And on to the next session.